Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today the 1973 Washington quarter may look like just another coin in your pocket change, but collectors know that its history and condition can make it worth much more than face value. To understand why, let's go back to the origins of the Washington quarter itself. This coin was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The design by John Flanagan featured the bust of Washington on the obverse and an eagle on the reverse. It became such a popular design that it was kept in circulation year after year, long beyond the anniversary. By 1973, the United States Mint was striking millions of these coins each year. That year, the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint all produced Washington quarters. The Philadelphia Mint struck over 286 million coins. The Denver Mint struck nearly 274 million. Meanwhile, the San Francisco Mint produced proof coins specifically for collectors. Because of these huge mintages, most 1973 quarters are considered common in circulated condition and are usually worth only their face value of 25 cents. However, not all coins are created equal. The real money lies in the details. Collectors prize coins in mint state condition. That means coins with no wear, strong luster, and sharp strike quality. For the 1973 Washington quarter, coins graded mint state 65 or higher by professional grading services can bring a premium. While average uncirculated examples may sell for a few dollars, high-end pieces with exceptional eye appeal can reach much higher prices. In some cases, a superb gem graded mint state 67 or 68 has sold for hundreds or even over $1,000 at auction. The San Francisco proof coins are another story. These were specially made with mirrored fields and frosted devices. A typical 1973 S-proof quarter might only bring a few dollars. But if the coin has a deep cameo contrast, showing bold frosted details against a mirror-like background, the value can increase significantly. High-grade deep cameo proofs can sell for tens or even hundreds of dollars. Then we have error coins. Errors are where things get especially exciting. Some 1973 quarters were struck off-center or on the wrong planchet. For example, if a 1973 quarter was struck on a dime planchet, that mistake creates a rare collectible worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on grade. Off-center strikes, double strikes, or coins with missing elements can also bring strong premiums in the current market. It is also important to remember that the metal composition of these coins plays a role in their collectability. By 1973, Washington quarters were made of a copper-nickel clad composition, with a pure copper core sandwiched between nickel layers. Unlike earlier silver quarters minted before 1965, these coins do not carry intrinsic silver value. That is why condition, rarity, and errors are the true drivers of value for the 1973 issue. So what is the current market like for 1973 Washington quarters today? In circulated condition, they remain worth only face value. In uncirculated condition, they typically sell for $1 to $5. In superb gem grades, the prices can rise into the hundreds. A top-graded coin with a population rarity has even been known to cross into the $1,000 range. Proof coins are generally affordable, often selling between $2 and $10, but deep cameo proofs in high grade continue to attract strong demand and higher prices. Error coins, depending on the type and severity, can bring anywhere from $50 to several $1,000s. For collectors, the key takeaway is simple. Always look closely at your 1973 quarters. If they are worn, they are worth face value. If they are mint state, get them checked for grade. If they are proof, check for cameo contrast. And never ignore an unusual coin that looks off-center, oddly struck, or on the wrong planchet, because that could be the ticket to a valuable discovery. The story of the 1973 Washington quarter is not just about 1 year of production. It is part of a larger history of American coinage, a reminder of how design, condition, rarity, and chance errors can transform an ordinary pocket change coin into something worth real money. Whether you are a seasoned collector or just someone who enjoys the thrill of searching through change, the 1973 Washington quarter remains a fascinating piece with potential surprises still waiting to be found. The 1987 P Washington quarter is one of those coins that often gets overlooked because it was a modern circulating quarter from the late 1980s. But when you take a closer look at its history, production details, and the current coin market, you'll find that some examples can actually be worth a surprising amount of money. In this video we are going to break down the story of the 1987 P quarter, the minting process, what makes certain coins rare, and just how much collectors are willing to pay for them today. Let's begin with the basics. The Washington quarter has been around since 1932, first struck to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. The design by John Flanagan became an American icon and continued all the way through the 1990s before the state quarter program completely changed the look of circulating quarters. By the time 1987 came around, the design was well established, but that doesn't mean every coin was struck perfectly or that every example is equal in value. The 1987 quarter minted in Philadelphia is identified by the small letter P mint mark located just to the right of Washington's ponytail ribbon on the obverse side of the coin. The Philadelphia Mint produced a very high number of these coins, over 529 million quarters were struck that year. With such a massive mintage, you might assume the coin is common and worthless, but that's not entirely true. Circulated examples found in pocket change are generally worth face value, but high-grade uncirculated pieces and rare error coins can sell for much more. Condition is everything when it comes to coin collecting. The grading scale ranges from poor all the way up to mint state 70, with the highest grades being the most desirable. Most 1987 P quarters you'll see in change will have scratches, wear, and marks from circulation, which means they won't bring a premium. However, if you have one that has never been used and still has full mint luster, you could be holding onto a coin that's worth far more than 25 cents. Let's talk about actual values. A regular 1987 P quarter in average circulated condition is only worth its face value of 25 cents. In lightly circulated or almost uncirculated condition it might be worth a small premium to collectors, around $1 or so. But where the real money comes in is with certified high-grade examples. Quarters that grade mint state 65 and above can sell for between $10 and $20. At mint state 67, the value jumps even higher, often selling in the $100 to $200 range. Coins graded mint state 68 are extremely rare, and auction records show that they can sell for more than $1,000 depending on the strength of the strike and the overall eye appeal. Now let's look at errors, because this is where some 1987 quarters can really bring big money. Collectors love dramatic minting mistakes, and certain 1987 P quarters are known with off-center strikes, double strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks. Some of these error coins can bring anywhere from $50 to several $100 depending on the type and severity of the error. If you ever come across a 1987 quarter that looks strange, missing details, or has an odd shape, don't spend it, it could be valuable. Another important point is the difference between regular strike coins and proof coins. In 1987 the Philadelphia Mint did not make proofs, those were produced at the San Francisco Mint with the S mint mark. The Philadelphia coins are all regular business strikes, but the few that survive in pristine condition with sharp details and clean surfaces are the ones that command the highest premiums. So what does this mean for today's collectors and coin hunters? It means that the 1987 P Washington quarter is mostly a common coin, but it also has the potential to be a sleeper. Most people will overlook it, but the right example in the right grade or with a dramatic error can be worth serious money. To sum it all up, the 1987 P quarter in average circulation is worth only face value. In uncirculated condition, it can range from a few dollars up into the hundreds depending on grade. Rare high-grade examples certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC can reach over $1,000. And error coins with major mistakes can bring strong premiums as well. The next time you're searching through your change, coin rolls, or an old collection, keep your eyes open for the 1987 P Washington quarter. Most of them are just common coins, but if you happen to spot one in gem mint condition or one with an unusual mint error, you might just have a coin that's worth far more than its face value. The 1982 D Washington quarter dollar is one of the most fascinating coins in modern U.S. history. At first glance, it looks just like any other quarter from pocket change, but when you dig into the details, you'll discover why this coin has become such a hot topic among collectors and why some examples are worth far more than just 25 cents. Let's start with a little history. In 1982, the U.S. Mint produced Washington quarters at several mints, including Denver, which is marked with the familiar D mint mark. More than 500 million of these Denver quarters were struck that year, which means they were everywhere in circulation. But here's the twist. In 1982, the mint stopped producing official mint sets for collectors. That decision meant that the highest quality examples were not preserved in large numbers the way they were in other years. Instead, most of these coins went straight into circulation, where they were spent, tossed around, and worn down over time. Because of that, finding a quarter from 1982 Denver in absolutely pristine condition is surprisingly tough, and that scarcity is one of the reasons why the coin can be valuable today. Now let's talk about value and condition. Most 1982 D quarters that you find in everyday change will still only be worth their face value, 25 cents, especially if they are scratched, worn, or discolored. But if you manage to come across one in mint state condition, meaning it looks sharp and nearly flawless, the value can jump significantly. A nice mint state example could sell for a few dollars, while higher grade certified coins can bring in much more. The real money comes into play with top graded specimens. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC have certified some of these 1982 Denver quarters at extremely high grades, such as Mint State 67 or even 68. Those top-tier coins are very rare because most of the mintage was used in daily transactions. At those levels, collectors are willing to pay big premiums. For example, auction records show prices ranging anywhere from hundreds to even thousands of dollars for the very best preserved 1982 D quarters, but the story doesn't end there. Some error varieties from this year are also highly collectible. For instance, there are 1982 D quarters struck with striking mistakes, off-center errors, double die varieties, or weak strikes. Any of these unusual errors can command serious money, with some selling in the hundreds depending on how dramatic and eye-catching the error is. This is why coin collectors always check their change carefully, because even a common date like 1982 can surprise you. So what about today's market? At the current time, interest in Washington quarters is strong, especially for coins from the 1980s that were never included in official mint sets. Collectors know they are much harder to find in high grade, and that has been pushing values up. While ordinary worn coins are still just pocket change, gem uncirculated pieces certified by top grading companies remain in high demand. The very finest known examples continue to set new records at auction, showing that serious collectors are willing to pay thousands to own the best of the best. To sum it up, the 1982 D Washington quarter may seem like an ordinary coin, but in reality, it carries a rich story. Because mint sets were not made that year, because pristine examples are rare, and because error coins can be incredibly valuable, this quarter has become a standout among modern coins. So next time you're sorting through your change, take a close look. You might just have one of these hidden treasures sitting right in your pocket. The 1981 D Washington quarter dollar is a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, but for collectors and coin hunters it has a story that stretches through American history and into today's collector market. Minted in Denver, the 1981 D quarter is part of the long-running Washington quarter series that began in 1932 to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. By 1981 the quarter had already gone through nearly 50 years of circulation history. These coins were struck in copper nickel-clad composition instead of the earlier 90% silver versions that were minted before 1965. That means the 1981 D quarter is not made of silver, but it still carries significant value in certain conditions. The Denver Mint struck over 500 million quarters in 1981, which makes the coin fairly common in circulation. In worn condition, like what you might find in your pocket change, the coin usually holds only face value. But the story changes when you start looking at uncirculated examples, high-grade coins, and coins with rare errors. Collectors especially prize coins graded mint state by professional grading services. A 1981 D quarter in mint state 65 condition can sell for a few dollars, but when the grade moves higher the value increases dramatically. In mint state 67, these coins can bring anywhere from $200 to $400 depending on eye appeal, luster, and strike quality. The real excitement comes with registry quality coins. In the very highest grades, such as Mint State 68, the 1981 D Washington quarter has sold for well over $1,000 at auction. The rarity lies in finding a coin that survived the minting process and circulation without scratches, nicks, or dullness. Error coins from 1981 also add to the story. Examples with off-center strikes, double dies, or dramatic planchet errors can command strong premiums. Collectors are always on the lookout for those rare mistakes because they combine history, rarity, and visual appeal in one package. It is also important to remember that the Washington quarter is one of the most collected American coin series. People who build full sets need the 1981 D to complete their collections. That steady demand keeps prices firm for top-grade examples and explains why the best coins bring such high prices at auction. In today's market, the average circulated 1981 D quarter is worth only 25 cents, but gem-quality examples graded by PCGS or NGC can be worth hundreds and in some rare cases thousands of dollars. Collectors who search rolls of quarters from banks sometimes dream of finding one of these high-grade coins hiding in circulation. The 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter is one of the most fascinating coins in American history. These coins were specially minted to honor the United States bicentennial, celebrating 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Millions of these coins were made, and nearly everyone in the 70s remembers seeing them in their pocket change. But today, some of these quarters are worth far more than just 25 cents. Let's dive into the history and the potential value of these bicentennial Washington quarters. The standard Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932. By 1976, the United States Mint decided to commemorate America's 200th birthday by creating a special design for the quarter, the half dollar, and the dollar. On the obverse side of the bicentennial quarter, we still see the familiar bust of George Washington. But on the reverse side, the usual eagle design was replaced with a colonial drummer boy holding a drum with a torch surrounded by 13 stars. That image was created by Jack L. Ahr, and it remains one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage history. These coins were struck with dual dates, showing 1776 to 1976, instead of a single year. That makes them instantly unique because it is the only time a Washington quarter carried two different years. Most of the 1776 to 1976 quarters you see today are clad coins. That means they are made with a copper core and a nickel outer layer. Hundreds of millions of these were produced at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, so the common circulated examples are usually worth just their face value, 25 cents. However, collectors are always looking for well-preserved examples in higher grades. If you find a coin that has been kept in mint state condition, especially in grades MS65 or higher, it can be worth several dollars, sometimes between 5 and 10, depending on the quality. But here's where it gets more interesting. The United States Mint also released special 40% silver versions of the bicentennial quarter. These were made for collectors and were sold in special proof and mint sets. If you have one of these silver quarters, it's already worth more than face value because of the silver content alone. Depending on the current silver market, the melt value usually ranges between $3 and $4. But uncirculated silver bicentennial quarters, or proof examples with deep cameo finishes, can be worth much more. In some cases, they sell for $20, $30, or even more, especially when graded by professional services. Another key factor that can drive value is error coins. Some bicentennial quarters were struck with mistakes, such as off-center strikes, double dies, or coins struck on the wrong planchets. These rare errors can bring hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. For example, a bicentennial quarter struck on a nickel planchet or a silver planchet intended for another denomination can be a major prize for collectors. High-grade coins certified by grading companies like PCGS or NGC can also bring impressive premiums. An ordinary clad bicentennial quarter in MS67 can fetch hundreds of dollars. And a silver bicentennial proof quarter in perfect PR70 condition has sold for over $1,000 in the past. So while most bicentennial quarters you see in circulation today are common, the key is condition, metal content, and errors. The vast majority will be worth just a quarter, but the special ones can definitely be worth big money. Now let's talk about the current market. In 2023 and 2024, collector interest in bicentennial coins has grown steadily. Many younger collectors who remember finding these coins in their parents' change are now rediscovering them. The 40% silver proofs remain popular because of their beauty and limited mintage. Auction prices have held strong, especially for high-grade examples. If you have a bicentennial quarter sitting in your collection, it's a good time to check the grade, and if it's silver or has an error, it could be worth far more than you expect. To summarize, the 1776 to 1976 Washington quarter is not just pocket change. It's a piece of history, a symbol of America's 200 years of independence, and for some collectors, it's also a treasure worth serious money. The majority are still worth face value, but the silver versions, the proof coins, the mint state gems, and the rare error coins are the ones that bring in the big dollars. We are diving into the world of Washington quarters and specifically the 1990 Washington quarter dollar coin. This is one of those coins that most people overlook in their pocket change, but it actually has a fascinating history and in certain cases can be worth a lot more than just 25 cents. The Washington quarter series began all the way back in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Originally these coins were struck in 90% silver. Until 1964, but from 1965 onward they were made of a copper-nickel clad composition. By the time we reached the year 1990 the design had already been in circulation for nearly 6 decades now. The 1990 D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint and the D Mint mark appears on the obverse side just to the right of Washington's ponytail. In total more than 895 million quarters were struck in Denver that year, which means the coin is quite common in circulation. However, rarity does not always depend on how many were made. Instead it comes down to condition, mint errors and high-grade examples. So what makes the 1990 D quarter valuable? First let's talk about condition. In circulated condition most examples are only worth face value, but when you find one in mint state condition, especially those graded MS65, MS66 or higher, the value rises quickly. Collectors are always looking for pristine examples that show sharp detail, strong luster, and no major scratches or bag marks. For example, an MS65 1990 D quarter typically sells for around $10 to $15, but when you move up to MS67 the price can skyrocket to $100 or more, and the true gems at MS68 can command several $100s at auction. These high-grade examples are rare simply because so many quarters from that era were heavily used in daily transactions. Now let's talk about errors and varieties, which is where things get really exciting. Some 1990 D quarters are known to have double die errors, particularly on the obverse lettering or the date. A strong double die can bring in anywhere from $50 to several $100s depending on its strength and condition. Another type of valuable error is the off-center strike, where the design is shifted noticeably off its normal position. A dramatic off-center error can be worth $50 to several $100s as well. There are also clipped planchet errors, where a small curved piece of the coin is missing from the edge. These types of errors are highly collectible and values range from $25 up to over $100 depending on the size of the clip and the overall condition of the coin. Transitional errors or wrong planchet strikes, where a quarter was accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank, can be worth thousands, but those are extremely rare. When we look at the current market today, in 2025 collectors are paying strong prices for top-grade certified examples and rare mint errors, while common circulated coins remain worth only a quarter. The demand for rare high-end pieces has never been stronger for coin enthusiasts. The 1990 D quarter is a reminder that even modern clad coins can hold surprising value. So next time you get change back at the store, take a closer look at your quarters, especially any from 1990 with a Denver Mint mark. You never know if you might have a hidden treasure worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoy learning about coin values, history and hidden treasures in everyday pocket change, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the world of coins.